So I'm glad you got to learn how to weave wattle, but you won't be able to see it. And the plants that I bought to grow on it are not going to be doing.
What were you going to grow on it?
Thunbergia, two different colors of black eye.
So, nobody's on here yet.
Nope.
I
All right.
I was looking for Haas Haas Halo. Um,
Oh, Chris
the
found it at Chris found it at
our
a flower farm last year. I don't know where else.
well, I found it at well, he doesn't have it, but he can order it.
Really? Well, that's great. So locally,
Um,
we can get it.
Steinkopf's.
Steinkopf's. Oh, okay. What are you doing down at
So
Steinkopf's?
I
I mean, that's all
well,
right.
I wasn't. I knew they had it a couple years ago, but they didn't have it last year.
Uh-huh.
So I called him last week and said, can you get it? Do you have it? No. He goes, but let me see if I can get it. He said he could get it.
Well,
So
that's great.
I'm gonna order one. And I said, I'm on with a gardening group, so I don't know if you would be opposed to me putting it in chat.
No,
If
I don't
anybody,
think he'd be opposed to it at all. And I haven't been
I
to
mean, for if
Steinkopf's.
you're opposed, if I put it in chat. So if other people want to do it,
No, no, it sounds good. And it reminds me that I haven't been down to Steinkopf's this year at all. Nice people, third generation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he can get it. I think I can't remember the name of this pot size, but it's like 59 bucks. So I found one online and it was more expensive than that. Plus, you had to pay shipping. So this is a better deal.
Oh, it just reminds me, I didn't check our Haas Halo today. I found the hydrangea leaf tire, and it's written up in here a little bit later on a couple of the other hydrangeas, and I didn't think to go over there and check our new Haas Halo. Well, I
Uh,
shall do that in the
I've
morning.
I've
Also,
got it at my rest area, and it's at the Swartz Creek rest area too.
wait, you have Haas Halo there?
No, no, no. The leaf.
The leaf tire, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They've been last three. Geez, I think it might have been 5 years ago that we started seeing them where we hadn't been seeing them at all for a while. And I think the numbers have peaked now and are going to start falling down. I hope anyway, because it's kind of a nuisance thing to have to stand.
All you can do is take off the leaves, unless right.
Right, unless you want to use a systemic insecticide, which I'm not.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I see Nancy Randall is here. Nancy, who was it? Chris was at Telly's and she found ice dance and another white variegated carrot. So they're out there. And there was something else I was going to tell you. I put the Tina crabapple in to the body of the program today because it kind of fit in with something else I was talking about, but there was something else. Nope, I guess it was just the ice dancer. But
Well,
anyway, it's
thank you for letting me know.
yeah. Of course, it's you know, we'll see if it's still there when you get there.
And when you get to the Tina Crabapple part, I'll kind of chime in with what we're doing.
Good. So I better pay attention to the time because I'll let it go and go and go here. This is our one of the beds at the Waterford Library Garden, and we have a Girl Scout working with us. She's getting her hours for a community service badge, and she was very pleased with to learn how to divide phlox. This is phlox bifida, no phlox stolonifera, phlox stolonifera, our one of our native woodland phloxes. And I said, well, we'll take that out of the pot. We're going to put new potting mix in there, new plants in there. And here, somebody teach her how to divide. So they taught her how to divide, and she divided it into three pieces, and she was just thrilled. Oh, I made more plants. We're worried about this bed, though. There's a break in the irrigation line, and trying to get it fixed has become a hassle and a half. The new wall that got put in almost 2 years ago now, the new edging, they put the edging right on top of the feeder tube to the sprinkler line and broke it. So in order to fix that and take that feeder line out of there, feeder line and sprinkler out of there, they're gonna have to take the wall apart, and there's this big brouhaha going about it. I can't, the maintenance people can't take apart the wall, and the people should take apart who built it, and meanwhile our plants look fine in the spring, and then they just all burnt out by the middle of summer because there's no water back there. Such a sad thing to see plants burned out when they start out looking so great in the spring. I don't see Irina here. No, Irina's not here, but I'll just send her the pictures on her own then. Irina was looking for upright shrub to help go in front of and hide a fence, and I told her, and for part shade. I said, I can't give you any better one than the bridal wreath spirea. It's the old-fashioned straight up and down spirea. It's just in this picture, this was yesterday, it's just finished blooming. Come on, picture, go. There. It gets the little white rosette flowers all along the stems. It's very pretty when it blooms. And then it turns a nice color in the fall, but it's one of the best upright. It's about as tall as it gets, but might touch 6 feet up here. But if you're ever looking for a nice shrub to have that maybe other people don't have, and that you don't need it to do hard labor in the middle of the year, just an early spring color and fall color, it's a great spirea. It's real. It used to be popular, 40s, 50s, 1940s, 1950s. And now finding it is difficult if you're interested in it. I told Irina, I said, I because it was at our house that was built in the 50s, and I knew you couldn't find it anywhere, I brought some pieces over here, so I have some pieces of it if anybody wants any. Oop, I hear Steve working his way in. I'm looking for something gold in the shade in our garden. Not quite full shade, but shade. And I thought about this lamium. This is aureum. Lamium maculatum aureum. Maculatum is for the spot in the middle of the leaf. Distinguishes it from dead nettle, the weed. But this one tends to revert. This is actually a reversion, and you have to keep taking it out of there. So if anybody's got any suggestions for me of something gold, not a hosta, that I can put into the shade, I'd appreciate it, because I've got a spot that just needs something gold there. We went to Donna Hughes' house today for a garden by Janet and Steve.
Do you want it to be short?
No, it doesn't have to be short, but it shouldn't be taller than probably a couple feet, 30 inches if it's tall.
Aurelius Sun King would be too tall.
Yeah, it'd be too tall if it'd grow here, but I have to take that one off the list because it's so we don't water, and I've tried it. Oh, there's the hummingbird. I've tried it here, and it says no. I'm sorry. I need like some water once in a while. It's spent 3 years being this big. Poor thing. And I know because I got it in gardens where it grows just wonderfully. It's almost shoulder high to me. It's great when it's in a better soil. Yeah.
The one I've got is next to a tree, and it doesn't get much water.
I bet it gets
and it's
some.
doing okay.
Yeah, I bet it gets
But it's not really yellow, but
it's not. Oh,
it's way more yellow than the straight species.
oh well, yeah, definitely more than the straight species. Maybe I should. Bleeding hearts do real well here. Maybe I should just go with the gold leaf bleeding heart over there. Anyway, Donna is looking to grow something other than the grass that she can't cut. This is even steeper than it looks. Even walking on this is difficult. She's been smothering it for about a year and a half. So we met there, about 4 or 5 of us, and figured out what she might do here in this space. Talked about, I said, it needs a path. You're going to have to cut a path where you cut into the hill and back up and put a retaining wall on the upper side of it, because you're going to need a way to walk through that bed and do something on it. Even if you plant it with lots of ground covers and naturalizing things a couple times a year, you're going to have to go through and do something. So we decided that she could go with a fine texture woody ground cover in here, like Stephanandra, and put coarse texture on either side in the sun and coarse texture in the shade. And we talked about a lot of different ground covers to put in here and how to hold the edge. It was great. You know, you talk to other gardeners and you're in a real place. Everybody's got suggestions and we're writing things down. It's really, really kind of nice to have gardeners to work with. And it was a great garden to be in. The birds were all over the place. And it's the baby birds were out. There were baby bluebirds and baby robins running by. Parents chasing them and feeding them. We did plant some annuals on that cold day on Wednesday. Boy, it was cold on Wednesday. But I'd hardened them off and had them, it's time to put them in, so we put in some annuals in at the library, took all the soil out of the planter bins, mixed it half and half with new stuff and some organic fertilizer and some polymers to help keep the moisture in, and planted them. Said, please be good, please make it. No frost since then, so maybe they'll be all right. Let's see, time. Anybody got any questions? We got 4 minutes before I have to turn it over to Steve to introduce us.
Hello.
Oh, you are there. Hi, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm here, but my camera's not working on my computer.
Again?
Yeah, that may be an issue. I don't want to fuss with it right now.
No, and that's okay. We know what you look like.
Yeah, just hope when we're traveling we can figure it out.
Oh, it's on your laptop. That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Teresa's raised a hand.
Hey, Therese, go ahead.
Hi guys, this has nothing to do with plants, but I just wanted to mention that I had a Dell laptop and just did a routine upgrade, as well as one of my friends did the same thing. And the latest upgrade fries the motherboard, and Dell is not willing to do anything about that. So I
Whoa.
just wanted to throw that out there. So, in case someone has a Dell and it asks for an upgrade, I might suggest calling Dell before you do that.
Wow. That is criminal. That really is. That's scary.
Was that the Zoom or was that through Dell?
It's probably through Dell. And
It was
okay.
definitely through Dell.
yeah,
Okay.
upgrading the
Wow,
system.
what a rip.
Yeah. And
Well,
I see Bernie is here. Bernie, I haven't forgotten you or anybody else who are working on designs. I'm just slowing down here. At the end of the day, I've been doing this unusual thing of going to bed rather than keep working. So I'm a bit behind, but we're getting there. Does it look like there's blooms on this thyme right here?
yes.
I'll be darned.
Or else it's just the way the look of the mulch is right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at that library. I can't remember it ever blooming at that time of year. Yep. So no more questions? Questions? I don't think.
Not that I see. I don't see. Carol
we
asked,
are-
are we recording? And yes, we are.
We are recording. I changed the meeting settings so that as soon as I start the meeting, it starts the recording, so that I won't forget it.
It only took us how long to figure that out? They might not have had that option all along, though.
Well, yeah, they might not, but then there's all kinds of things that they can do. So many options on so many of these apps that we've got that
Yeah.
I never use. I don't touch them. And then Sody or Corey, our daughter or son, will come along and go, how come you're not, oh, you can do that? Really? Or worse yet, the grandkids say, how come you're not doing whatever it is? It's I can see the hummingbird was sitting in the locust tree just outside my window, Steve.
Oh,
And it reminded me that for the webinar in the morning, I could hear birds in the background through the window. And the window wasn't open, but you got a lot of birds talking out there.
yeah, it was just the bluebird family that we saw earlier this morning were just here for a few grab of
With
food and go.
the youngster again?
Yep, sat in the same spot.
Yeah. There were two young robins hopping around where we were today, doing the thing where if you look around, you can see the parents hopping along in the trees above them, kind of like pacing them on the ground. It's fun to watch.
Yep. Okay.
We're going to go ahead and start. Nobody here hasn't been here before. so you know about these things. There you go, Steve.
So, good evening and welcome to Free4All Friday, our 76th edition of it. We're coming to you from gardenatozz.org.
And we welcome all gardeners, everybody come and celebrate growing and cultivate problem solving. I'm Janet
I'm
Konovich,
Stephen.
and we do love to garden, but we especially love to talk with other gardeners about what's going on out there. There's almost nothing better than that, which is why we've got the website, and we're hoping that you'll tell people that the website is there, and we've got thousands of articles there that we've written over the years, and now hundreds and hundreds of videos that are there in the hopes that people can find what they need with some real practical information. The Free4All Fridays are our offering to the world. They're supported by the people who are our webinar subscribers. They allow us to have the website and as well as to have the website to do this talk each week, which helps us because we just feel like we need to talk to gardeners. If we can't hear what's going on in gardens, it's like walking around with one set of your senses turned right off. So every Friday, 7 to 8, well, not quite every Friday. We don't do it when we have a webinar the next day. But the link is always there on the page, so they don't even have to have an invitation from us. They can just go and click and come on and join us. We're going to show you both of these trees later. I put these in from Steve's pictures, doing what we sometimes do preparing for one of these presentations. We look for pictures to use for just filling the screen while we're talking about other questions that come in. And we look at that time of year in other years. So this is 7, 8, 9 years ago on this date. And things are a little bit further along in some cases and not quite so far along in others. And as it turned out, just as a coincidence, this tree came up in questions people asked, and this one came up in another question, so you'll see them later. This is our fig tree at the Detroit Zoo, which we buried each year, laid it down on the ground and buried it, and then lifted it back up and put it in. It always had figs, and we never got a single fig off of it because people who came to the zoo obviously recognized it and were plucking the figs, or maybe there was a raccoon or a possum plucking the figs. But it was nice to have a fig tree, even if we never got figs. And these were our pleached linden trees. We grew these lindens and strapped them together and injured the branches where we strapped them together so that they knitted together, and it was growing as one tree as an arbor, and we just kept it clipped once a year. It was a nice thing to have there. It was a great garden. A lot of that garden, in fact, those parts of the garden there, this whole area is all underneath the wolf exhibit now.
Yeah, from about the cabin back.
Yeah. Part of the cabin is there, but part of the cabin they took out. This is the time of year when you really notice trees as they leaf out, especially if they're specimen trees. Sometimes we miss looking up at the bigger trees, but it's great to see the trees, and it gives me a lot of pangs in my heart when I see trees that can't grow to their potential, and we've been noticing that this year. This is Japanese maple, lace leaf Japanese maple, lace leaf Japanese maples. Ruth Hart sent this picture in. Thanks, Ruth. Are we there today? No, Ruth isn't here today, but we've talked about them on email. This is from Woodmere Cemetery in Detroit. It's a very old cemetery. I think it dates back to before the Civil War. And we used to go on tours there with the Detroit Garden Center. They would have an expert who knew the history of the trees walk us around. But these two are truly beautiful trees, and probably 1920s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. They're contemporary with the similar Japanese maples across the river in Windsor at the Queen Elizabeth II Royal Sunken Gardens. And they are spectacular, and it's spectacular in large part because somebody pruned them when they were little in order to establish a good framework, and then and planted them well and let them grow to the full size. These are a red lace leaf. The ones at Queen Elizabeth II Royal Sunken Gardens in Windsor are the green lace leaf, probably the one called Waterfall. But is that not gorgeous? also at the cemetery, Ruth saw this and she said, "What is this tree?" This is technically a bush. This is Viburnum seboldii, with the pleated leaves and the white, kind of stinky flowers. This one here at our Detroit Zoo Garden, that's a Viburnum seboldii, not quite as old as that other one. They make a nice tree. They can be depended upon to grow on one trunk or just a couple if you want, and not have the trunk die back. They are, however, on the invasive plant list for a couple of states, I think New York and Pennsylvania, for seeding themselves around. So I haven't used any since then. We had a couple of clients and this one at the zoo. We never saw seedlings coming up, but doesn't mean that they aren't coming up where you're not seeing them. Viburnum seboldii. And then another tree we were talking about, and Nancy and David can chime in here, a while back, and we're still working on it, and we'll meet with people out in the field to finish up a design for that these two are working on. They settled on a crabapple called a Tina crabapple. It's a dwarf form of the Sargent crabapple, and missing a nice picture of it in bloom. I said, well, here's what it looks like, and showed them an image search to show Sargent Tina crabapples. And they said, yeah, that looks good to us. We can do that. And then this week, I heard from them that they'd found a weeping Sargent Tina crabapple. And Steve and I didn't realize that there was a weeping form of the Sargentina. So Nancy, why don't you recap what we've talked about, what you've been considering, and then I'll go from there in terms of the size of the root ball and which one you wanted to pick.
Yeah, so I listed out pros and cons of both. The regular Sargentina was container grown. It was about 6 feet tall, though, grown in still a fairly large container. This one, balled and burlapped, is much larger, much heavier. It's not taller, it's about 5 feet tall, but the root ball is huge. So that would be one problem, dealing with that. I talked to Wiegand's, this was at Ray Wiegand's, and was told that I asked if they took the burlap and the twine and the wire cage off, and they said no, that it would
void the warranty, right?
Void the warranty, right? And they said they peel the burlap down and take off whatever of the cage they can, but they said, don't worry, it'll grow right through the burlap, and the burlap will disintegrate anyway, which I knew doesn't really happen. So that was a big thing for us, because we'd have to get somebody to plant it. We couldn't possibly plant it ourselves.
That's a big root ball to be moving around. I mean, anything's possible if people work at it hard enough, but you can see people straining themselves to get that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the possible cons or a question mark that you found was it resistant like the Sargent crabapple is? Because it is a different plant. It weeps and it's smaller, so genetically it's got some differences. Is it good that way? And I realized after I'd emailed back to you that on this page, if you look through here, right down here, there's a weeping one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had emailed to you that we need to check with Ray Wiggins Nursery for what grower they bought the trees from, because the original grower would know about resistance, but that particular nursery, Frank Schmidt and Sons, is rock solid in terms of its professionalism and its long-term credibility in the nursery. So I went there to Frank Schmidt's. There's their weeping Tina.
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom of the page, the disease resistance, it's excellent, good, excellent, excellent. I said, if you look at just the straight Sargent crabapple and read about disease resistance, it's excellent all the way through. So one difference between them is going to be that your fire blight resistance is not going to be as good with the weeper. Now, whether or not that's terrible because fire blight, when it happens, is terrible. You lose the branch and sometimes it can get back into the tree. And these are top grafted trees. So there's the trunk and then the top, like a weeping cherry, that's the top part that they've grafted on that does the weeping. So we'd want to watch it for fire blight, but it is a pretty tree, very pretty tree.
It is pretty, but just the fact that you and Stephen had never heard of it, that was a big red flag for me.
Yeah.
That either it's very new or
Yeah,
or
I don't think it's probably not very new, so much because to have trees that size, they've been growing those trees for probably 10,
Yeah.
15 years.
Jen and I have been kind of out of the going to the nurseries,
Mhm.
except for what we particularly want for our house, or we go to specialty nurseries and walk around and check them out.
Mhm.
And we might have seen it and mistaken it not in bloom, but mistaken it for another crab apple, but we
Mhm.
hadn't read about it or could say for sure, oh, I saw that one in the landscape.
Yeah, but I think if there were more growers of it, if there were a lot of growers of it, if it had caught on in the industry, and out in the field, there'd be more people growing it, and you'd see it'd come up more on those images. So it could,
Right, right.
but it
So
is a pretty tree. And as for the size of the root ball, I just this is an example of a tree that's not grown to its potential. This is a sweet gum, liquid ambar styraciflua, pretty fall color tree. We bought the tree for a demonstration with the Relief of Michigan people. And we were demonstrating proper planting. And for this tree, we shaved the sides of the root ball per Michigan State instructions. We said, okay, here's one way that they tell you to do it. And I thought, well, I'm going to leave it in the ground because it could be a nice tree. After the first winter, the top died back. Here's where the top died back.
mhm.
And every year since then, and this is the fourth spring, it's waken up now. It has died back. So all these branches died back at the tips, and now it's going to grow from here, and it's going to witch's broom again. So it's turning into a bush, and it does right now today. This is what it's doing. It's beginning to push out growth from the trunk. And I told Steve, I said, we just shaved the sides on that one. We didn't take the root ball apart. So, and we know what the roots are supposed to look like. They're supposed to spread out. I said, I'm going to take it out. I'm not going to fight with a tree not growing for years and years because they add up, and in no time at all, you realize that you got a tree taking up space for 10 years. So we know what the roots should look like. This is that seven sun tree that
Oh my
I
goodness.
showed you earlier, but you can see the radial pattern on the roots just straight out to the sides. That's the way they should grow.
Mhm.
I dug this one up, and here's what was inside.
Oh.
See, these are doubled over on themselves as they've gotten thicker as the tree grew.
Yeah.
They're cutting each other off. This one's wrapped right around the trunk. This one's wrapped around the other ones that are there. It did have one cluster of roots that made it out and were heading off into the garden, but I traced those back, and they went to this middle one here, squashed between this root and this root wrapped around the trunk. So what it was doing was it was growing every year, and every year it was killing itself back. And in talking to the people that were at the workshop today, Chris had just gotten for Mother's Day a weeping redbud, and she took the root ball apart, and I said, send me the pictures of that. We can put them in. Look at this.
Mm. Oh.
And wrapped all around the outside of the pot. I told her, I hope you took that root out. She said, I tried. That takes a chisel to take that out of there. But I'm afraid with a tree that size, because it wasn't grown by Ray Wiegand's nursery in the field right from the beginning. It was purchased in as a plant from another nursery. We know they lined them out, and then Bald and Burlap them. If there's a problem with the roots, it's going to be in that original pot grown one that they started with, and it's not going to be reachable. And I just hate to see a tree be put in the ground, and then you start seeing symptoms of girdling, like that top dying back and whatever. So I looked back to the tree, the picture you took, and I, it's hard to tell because there's a background of other trees, but I'm gonna look right here. That's the newer growth on the tree, no flower buds on it. And it looks like the growth rate is a good 12 inches a year. So you could start with a smaller tree if we can find it, something that we could handle and that we could actually clear the roots, and you're going to get a foot a year growth out of it. In fact, the woman who cuts our hair has a Tina crabapple. I told her a few years ago about it, and she bought one. I've never seen it. It's in her backyard, and we do other stuff, and I'm looking out other windows. But she sent me a picture this year. She said, "Can you help me prune this?" And it's wild. It's all over the place. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's she's got the weeper too. So if we can find them smaller, could you do smaller? Would you
Oh,
start?
yeah, because we've gone way to the other extreme. We've gone around to all the local nurseries, and the only Tina crab apples we found were at Wiegand's and at Telly's, and Telly's were just as large. And nobody else has the Tina crab apples, so I've started calling around any place in Michigan. And one place I called warned me that it was balled and burlapped, and she said, I want to tell you that ball probably weighs about 600 pounds.
Yeah.
So that was a little discouraging. So now I'm trying to find even bare root, small bare root. So I'm just keep calling around.
I'm wondering whether Gosler Farms would have it.
Gosler. Okay, I called North Branch. North Branch didn't have any Tinas.
Monrovia, growing them.
Broken Arrow in Connecticut.
Yeah, because we can't order from Schmidt. They're wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we should check and see whether we've got some of these on some of the mail order nurseries, because Broken Arrow is definitely a good source. So is Forest Farm and Gosler Farms out in Oregon and Washington.
Okay.
Carol said she saw one at Wojo's.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Wojo's.
She thinks, but
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to continue looking around then. Good. I'm
Okay,
glad.
what were the other names used? Gosler?
Gosler Farms and Forest Farm. Forest Farm is all one word. Forest
Okay,
Farm
and Broken Arrow.
and Broken Arrow. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get searching again. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So I hope that's not that is useful to other people too. If you can buy them small, buy them small.
Mm-hmm.
be patient.
I told the group today we need to go down to North Branch together, and talk with their grower as we talked with him. Steve, was it last fall that we went down?
Yeah.
I mean, to see somebody do the plants the right way and see the products that they're putting out, it's just it's wonderful.
It's nice to see. Michelle has a question.
Mhm.
I broke a branch of an oak and it left a pulled open area on the remaining branch. Does a small opening still bring in the beetle that brings oak wilt?
Yeah, smear some Elmer's glue on that right away. Seal that up with wood glue or Elmer's glue.
Therese has a hand up.
Okay, Therese, go ahead, and we'll watch.
My double weeping cherry is on its last root, and
This last root.
I would like to replace it with another. It's been a fabulous tree for us. I have no idea. It's been in the ground about 30 years. So I don't know what it is, but I just wondered if you had a particular double weeping cherry that's pink, well, or whatever. I guess it doesn't matter the color. This one was pink, but white would be okay too, I guess.
I think Pink Fountain and White Fountain are the ones that are out there a lot, that you'd find. But there are a couple.
Are they like under 10 feet?
Yes.
So pink fountain, white fountain?
Yeah, they're the two that I see the most. I'm looking for a catalog here. Here, catalog. Sorry.
Oh, that's supposed to be my job, but I'm being lazy tonight.
The catalogs are your job? I didn't
Well,
know.
I could Google it, but I'm not quite Sonia. It'd be 10 minutes and then I'd tell you.
Well,
What I forgot.
Here, I thought I could just grab it. I thought my Klein Nursery catalog was right there.
I thought so too.
I don't know where these things get up and walk to, for crying out loud. But yeah, there are a couple with the Japanese names, and I can never remember Yatsukami. Too many syllables in the different order that I'm used to seeing. So let's see if Snow Fountain. Yeah, they're out there. They're still out there. Snow Fountain and Pink Fountain. Yoshino. They're all in the. They're called Yedoensis, or called Yoshino cherries, and they're the ones that are the double flowered, so they don't have fruit, and they bloom for a little bit longer. I think Prunus seriolata might do it too. So they're out there. The Kwanzan cherries, but the Kwanzans are not. They're semi-double. We'll have to look into that.
Thank you.
We watched this blue heron. Couldn't help it looking for things that were going on and pictures that Steve had taken on this date in other years. Came across this heron, and he watched him catch the fish, and then he went on to shore with it and threw it down on the ground. Just threw it down, I guess to make sure that it was dead, and then walked back out into the water and swallowed it whole. See it going down. Took a sip of water, went and fluffed his feathers and scratched his head, then went back to fishing again and caught another one, walked it up on shore, and then dropped it and flew off. We said, why did you do that? Well, it did it because this was happening. Oh boy! She said, the bird went away and he left his fish. Grandpa, he left his fish. Well, yeah, he scared him away from his fish. It's fun being outside, isn't it? The things we see, we gardeners see that other people don't see. And I'm still worried over this spring. There are definite things in plants that are in trouble. Call it the big stall. So we had 2 sick lilacs here that I dug out last summer and fall, because the bush that we put in back of them was now big enough to fill in this spot, and we're not looking across at Nancy's house. Well, this spring, like a number of plants, this is stalled. It started to leaf out and it's just stalled. I don't see any damage at the bottom. I don't see broken bark that indicates that what the problem is. It is a half-breed native Calycanthus, but what a rip to have spent the time to let it grow before we took the lilacs out, and now to have something happen to it. We're a little worried in watching it. But the problem with things leafing out and then stalling, which is what's happened this year to oaks, locusts, Catalpa is only barely broken bud now, is that when a leaf is emerging, it hasn't fully formed its cuticle or protective covering yet, and they're much more susceptible to fungus infection and damage. So this is sumac, totally native, and you might be able to see on the tips of the leaves here the damage that's happened to these half-open leaves that have just been sitting there for a little bit on the same plant further underneath an overhanging branch with less damage. It's getting less damage, but apple trees that were leafing out and didn't have a cuticle formed on their leaf are more susceptible to fungus infections, and so we get more defoliation later in the year. We've been really glad. I got very worried about our beech trees that we've got growing to pleach together, but they did not open. I said, please, if you're not going to grow, don't open. But why aren't you opening? You're supposed to be open already. They've just opened this week, and so we'll hope that they'll get done quickly. Anybody got any questions that have come in?
Michelle,
Yep.
Branch is in Pemberville, Steve.
Pemberville. Oh, I was close for
You were
me.
close, yeah.
Speaking of small trees, Michelle has a couple of 7 sons of buttonbush and silky dogwood from the Michigan Beekeepers Association.
Oh,
If anybody's interested.
They didn't all sell? Oh, that's good. Oh, Michelle, hang on to 3 7 sons for me. I need
But she has 2.
Okay, I'll take 2. I have one that I need to put 2 small ones next to it. Yes, please hang on to 2 of them for me. I didn't think about that. I need to be reminded all the time. Okay.
Yeah. So they're having a discussion about about nurseries in the in chat, and Suzanne has got her hand up again, and it's not feedbacking right now.
All right, good. Good. Maybe we can get this in.
Go ahead, Suzanne. Oops, it says her mic is on.
We'll We'll get there. We'll get there. Steve playing with Sonia's dog here.
Michelle said she could get the third.
Okay, that'd be great. Yep, thank you. So don't tell them somebody else. All right, so we'll move on. It's the time of year when everything looks fresh and new. I mean, there's nothing so beautiful as fresh spring foliage, but that also means that it's new food for all the things that eat those plants. So if you've got the snowball hydrangeas, the white hydrangeas, they are we're in what's probably a climb, maybe even a peak of hydrangea leaf tire. These will fall off and we'll go back to where we were 8 years ago. We never saw them, but they're caterpillars tying together the new leaves at the top of the hydrangea and inside that leaf. So see this little guy right here. He's little, but he's mighty. He put a little bit of silk between those leaves when they were coming up, and they hold together and they eat them from the inside out. Now what you can do is you can use an insecticide, but it has to be a systemic insecticide, something that the plant absorbs to make that leaf toxic, because that caterpillar is protected by the plant itself. Or you do what we do, and is the main suggestion from most nurseries, which is take off all of the places where you see them. Just take that off and throw those away, because we don't want those caterpillars to find their way back. I took all of these. I'm not worried at all about those hydrangeas. I cut them all the way back to the ground when I moved the lilacs out, because they were in my way, and I would miss them. So this is Suzanne. Oh, just trying.
Yep.
I cut these all the way back when I was digging the lilacs out. The lilacs were just back here where the fork is, to get them out of my way. So this is all new growth, and yet I cut all of that off of the tops of them. But meanwhile, about 10 feet away, there's another hydrangea. This is one that we inherited. I rescued it from the backyard. It's probably, maybe, pink, incredible pink. And I thought, well, I look at this one. That caterpillar, that moth didn't lay a single egg on this one. Maybe, they are genetically a little bit different because this one is crossed with one of the lace cap hydrangeas. But then later on in the day, looking at somebody else's pink hydrangea, I saw that they were on there. So for some reason, the moth did not lay any eggs on this one, just a little ways away. But that'll take care of it. It's also time of year that when you're digging things up, you may well find black vine weevil grubs in the soil. If you've had notches on the edge of leaves, if you've had plants doing poorly, it takes just a couple of these guys to kill even a big shrub eating the roots all winter long. So if you see these little grubs, and that's the size there that you can gauge from my hand, they sometimes this time of year you'll be able to see the wings developing, because they are pupa like a caterpillar or a butterfly. So they're not eating now. You can't kill them with a pesticide. You have to wait until they finish maturing and leaf out, or throw them to the birds, let the birds eat them, because killing them physically, manually, is really the only thing you can do right now. But you watch for them, you'll find them, and get rid of them anytime you can.
Suzanne says her fothergilla have bloomed at the top of each bush, but not much leafing. Can't remember if that's normal.
Yeah, the fothergilla does bloom before it leaves out, so that is normal. They're late this year blooming. Just so many things are off time. Lilacs and crabapples threw me completely off this year.
Also, she says she needs to replace her son's boxwood, and hoping to plant a native shrub would be a
replacement for boxwood.
reasonable blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Reasonable replacement. Is evergreen too much to hope for?
Yes. About the only evergreen I can think of that would be small, and with a smallish leaf, would be the leatherwood, Atlantic leatherwood. Have I got that right? That might not be right. No, it's not. It's in the rhododendron family. Anyway, it's not a really easy thing to grow. Takes an acid soil. is not going to grow quickly and take a lot of pruning like boxwood. That's the only evergreen I can think of. Otherwise, you have to go with deciduous plants if you want the natives. And even there's not very many small ones that do that. It's boxwood is understandably widely used. Yeah, I wish I could tell you something else to do there.
Michelle's asking, the closed leaves on the hydrangea seem to encompass the bud of the flower. Is that correct? Will cutting them make a new bud yet?
They will make new buds. On the snowball hydrangea, you can go ahead and cut them and you'll still get bloom in July. So that's not a problem. It does feel like taking a lot off. And I apologize profusely to those plants. I said, here, I cut you all back last fall, all the way to the ground, and now I'm cutting you back again already. But they'll be fine. I have not seen leaf tire on any of the panicle hydrangeas, but those also would bloom from new wood. And I haven't seen them on the lace cap and on the blues and pinks. We don't grow those because they don't bloom reliably for us, but someone might be able to tell us if they see them there. Yeah. Kill the Japanese maple, huh?
Yeah, that's what Bernie said.
Yeah, it has 2 leaves.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to help it. I was just at a small nursery they bought family nurseries, and it's a landscaping company that's undercutting all the big places and that. And I was just asking about the crabtree thing, if he knew if they had any of those in stock or where they were getting them from. But I looked at the prices at the half the size of the tree I lost, and it's like $500. And I'm like, I started it from an 18-inch twig.
Yeah, Japanese maples grow quickly than people think, but they have such a cachet around their identity that they do get charged a lot for. I don't think.
Yeah. And the ones I had, I mean, they're full grown, basically about 8 to 10 feet, and they never got any bigger. So they
Right.
were perfect by the corners of the condo and stuff. But now I'm off balance.
Well, if you lost the one, I mean, chances are good that the wind has changed or something has changed there and made it not a good. I wouldn't put another Japanese maple in
No,
and
I
kill.
mean, I think with that corner gets a lot of heavy cold wind coming from the west. And with this cold winter, after all these mild winters, some of these things weren't ready for that kind of thing. So I've had some losses, but I was kind of sad to see only like a little teeny twig, and I kept looking at that one, and I looked at the other one who was leafing out, and I'm like, he's done. And so I might just go to like a boulder rock garden or something with something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a tough thing to lose a tree that's been there for a while. I feel your pain. Sorry to hear it.
And it was just a little baby when I got it too.
Yeah, there's something very special about growing things from little tiny twigs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see. My neighbor, who was my best friend, had this very heirloom lilac that's beautiful. I'm gonna see if I can get a couple pieces off of that and maybe put one there and one in where she had a rose of Sharon, which also died from the cold, I think. And that one's kind of loose, so the hole will be ready there in the hard clay and stuff. And
So
since it's
it's kind of fun to plan something different into a.
yeah, and I'm trying to look for like some short evergreens to kind of block the wind for the azaleas and stuff, and for the birds to hide in when the hawks are around. But if you have any suggestions for that, I was looking at some junipers, and I thought maybe I should alternate like taller and shorter and stuff. I got some ground covered ones in there, but
Not being familiar with the space, it's hard for me to make a suggestion. But
yeah, yeah, I can shoot you a couple photos later.
okay, that sounds good.
My nephew's here takes.
Whoops, I hit mute.
Oops, sorry, Steve's.
Sorry, Bernie.
I just said that my nephew's backyard tragedy takes precedence over me.
Okay, all right, and so we'll bring that one up first. Move on to weeds then. I have to say it because that's what we're doing right now. Weeding in the spring is the most important thing that there is for us to do, and it's the same old story. This is a pokeweed seedling. This is one that got away from me last year when a bunch of seeds came up. This is total going, and it went straight down. I curled it around to fit it on the picture. This is over 20 inches of root, and this will all thicken up and become a big root, so time to come out. And where I took the lilacs out, I've never, in the 8 years that I've tended that area, never had any thistle in the area. but I saw 2 thistles this spring and not seedlings. Seedlings look different than this. So I dug them up. This one snapped off and this one snapped off. I said, oh, okay, you go snap off all you want, you guys. I know that you're coming from a horizontal root. So I loosened the soil and found this underneath. And what I think happened, so this snapped off from here. What I think has happened here, oops, is that this, and you might be able to see that it's old and kind of wizened and brown. There was some thistle at some point, maybe in that lilac root ball or underneath the root ball. I went down quite deep, taking all the roots out of there. And the thistle, like plant seeds, roots can sit dormant for a long time. That root was sitting there dormant and has sprouted up. So it's important to know that Canada thistle, when you feel it go snap, chase the rest of the root. Also had some questions this week from several people asking about whether we had Neil DeBole's images. At the end of the webinar, he flipped through pictures that he hadn't gotten to because he said it's a longer presentation than what we had time for. No, we don't have those slides other than on the video. They're on the video, on the recording, and so you can look at what's there, but there's no commentary on them. There is, however, for those who have been asking, well, I was wondering about what herbicides to use and what kind of weeds to use them on. There are 2 packets of information that Neil gave us to hand out with the webinar. This one, Controlling Invasive Plants in Wisconsin, is 26 pages. And it has every herbicide he talked about, which plants he uses them on, how to use them, how many times to spray on them. So if you're looking for that information, go to our webinars page. And in the menu on the webinars page, there's an audience materials tab. Go there, and you can either scroll down or select weeds continued, and it'll take you to the place where you can download these. Because it's all there. He spared no expense and effort in getting all of that written down. Names of herbicides, when to use them, on which plants, and how many times. I've been using my own herbicide. The only herbicide that I use, other than the low-tech pulling of weeds, is on our patio, where last year in the fall, the chickweed and creeping speedwell got seeded into between our stones, and many of these stones were literally covered with foliage from the plants grown in them. And that meant that they'd grown there for long enough to set seed. So I cleaned them all out really well earlier this spring, re-sanded between the stones. And now I'm back to my old way of weeding there, which is every morning I set the tea kettle on with full of water. And once it boils, I walk outside and I pour it between some of the stones. As long as you do that when they're little and just coming up as seeds, you won't have to pull them out after. So I'm keeping the flagstone areas clean with boiling water. And this really doesn't have so much to do with weeds as it does to do with just the fun of being outside. I cleaned up the pond area this week. I took out the debris that had settled into the pond over the winter from leaves and stuff, and got the pumps cleaned out and started back up again, because the birds like this dripping water. And in doing that, I also cut back. This is creeping forget-me-not, Myosotis scorpioides, which blooms most of the summer. And every year it creeps out on the stones and ends up growing right into the water. I peeled it back off the stones, and that left some ends there. I can see some black stems there and here. It left some of the stems that had been sitting wet all winter sitting there. And it left this area where I made a new edge and weeded clear. There's no mulch on there yet. I went inside to tell Steve, pond's done, take a look, and we looked out the window at it together, and within minutes of our standing there looking at it, there were 5 white-crowned sparrows digging in this nice dirt, and 2 robins came over because, oh boy, loose soil, and they were looking for stuff. And one of the robins came over and stood on the rock and went, whoa, cool stuff. Those 2 robins then spent the rest of the day coming back and plucking all of this old foliage off and pulling it loose and flying off to line their nest with it, because it's wet, it's partly decayed, and they make those nice, where they put wet, muddy stuff into the nest, and then they sit down and jiggle around and form the nest. It was cool.
It was sure was cool to watch them do it. She would rip at it and rip at it, and we're thinking, oh, you got it all. And then she'd be back and
Just with a mouth
didn't even see 30 seconds, and she was back
back
getting more,
again.
and she'd rip more out of there.
And the next morning back again. It's such fun watching them work. And I do have to remind myself and other people all the time that weeds are any plant growing where you don't want it. I like the variegated Solomon seal, but this variegated Solomon seal is beginning to take over the path. It's got to come out. It's a weed. You got to take out some plants once in a while. You know, I set them at the end of the driveway and give them to other people. But while I was working on this, I noticed, and then Stephen noticed too when he was out there, I've never seen the variegated one sport an all white piece. Chances are good it will die because it doesn't have enough chlorophyll to grow well, but it does have a green stem and it might make it. I might separate that one out and see what it'll do. Another worrisome thing this spring is the plants that are off kilter. This is Crambe cordifolia, sea kale, and it's in full bloom. This picture was taken Wednesday this week. It's in full bloom. This is a plant that I have watched bloom in late May, early June every year for 20 years. And look at what it's doing now. So here's an earlier year. Here's 10, 11 years ago. This is Crambe cordifolia, the sea kale back here. And it's in the mustard family along with false perennial alyssum, Orinius axatilis. So the whole mustard and clan blooms at the beginning of the growing season, but not this early. That's what it should look like right now. That's what it normally looks like. It's Camassia coming up among it. It's a bulb plant. But the Camassia comes up and the Crambe should be in tight bud, not blooming yet. So stuff is just off kilter this year.
Bernie was wondering, do we ever think pokeweed is a good idea? I worry about the toxicity of it.
I like poke, and we kept it at the old house, and I
Yep.
grow in a place where we could look out the window and watch because the cedar waxwings would come by every fall and clean the berries off of that. But over the years I decided that keeping control of the seedling pokes was too much work, and too many of these pokes were coming up in neighbors' shrubs and they weren't taking care of them and they were just getting too big, and so it became too much to take care of. I don't worry about the toxicity of the plant because it's not real likely that people are going to go and pluck and eat those. The most toxic parts are the leaves in the spring, but they're also what people used to make poke salad out of. You have to understand that after a whole winter of no fresh vegetables, people's teeth were loose, they were sick, and they needed the greens they could get. And when the poke came up, if you harvest the leaves and eat them right away, they could kill you. But if you harvest the leaves and put them in a boiling water, pour the water off, put in more boiling water, and pour the water off twice, they make a nice green vegetable. So I don't worry too much about the toxicity so much as I do about the management of it. I've started mulching. It's never too late to mulch, but I always wish every year when I get around to mulching, I wish we'd done it earlier. This year I decided, and Steve let me get away with it, that I'm putting pretty mulch on the garden. For 7 years now, I have used whatever wood chips I could find in the neighborhood that were being shredded up, and I would prefer a prettier mulch. These are 3 of the mulches that we considered. Steve went out and looked for me. This is called shredded pine bark, which is very good. It's got a lot of good lignins in it that help the organic matter in the soil to form your soil into better clumps and clusters. Oops. Whoa. This is double shredded bark, which is also good, and it's at my son's house. But this is the triple shredded bark, also some places called woody fines. And I want this year to use the nice stuff that is the darkest, finest texture that I can get. So we got 6 yards of the triple shredded woody fines. So that this is double shredded back here. It's not the finest one, but it's going to show off the plants better than wood chips and rougher stuff. The texture, the visual look of the mulch doesn't let the plants pop well enough. So I have our mulch and I've started mulching things. I wish I could get mulch very early in the year and put the mulch down and let the plants come up through it. But we've never quite been able to do that, both because of the things that we're working on and don't have the time to do mulch, and also because the landscape supplies don't have the mulch in. So I have my 6 yards, and every time I go to start working on them at this time of year, putting mulch down, it just astounds me that I am going to put that whole pile of mulch into the garden a handful at a time. I can load the wheelbarrow up with a big shovel. I can take the wheelbarrow over where I'm going to need it. But with plants already up, the spots I've got to put them are small spots, and I want 2 inches of mulch on there, so I'm going to be putting them down a handful at a time. Or, best bet, I get to load the bucket and walk into the middle of the bed and put it into some of those places. But it's pretty amazing what we do. If, however, I'd had that mulch in early April, I would have just spread it over the whole bed and let the plants come up through it. And it's so much easier when you have friends. Such a special group of people that volunteer in gardens, and it was a really special group that came to the Detroit Zoo. I think that's April Shaw. That's me.
Might be, can't remember.
That's-
Suzanne has a couple other plants that she wonders about to replace those boxwood hollies.
Yeah,
There's no native ones that
yeah,
are
our
evergreen.
only native holly is a deciduous one, but yes, hollies would do. Hollies don't shear as well as boxwoods do because they've got the bigger leaf. When you shear them, it leaves half leaves, which don't look quite as neat as the smaller boxwood, but they could work. Or the Japanese holly, which a lot of times gets mistaken for boxwood. It doesn't grow as reliably in the shade as boxwood does, nor does it grow quite as fast, but it looks very much like boxwood. And that's
Were you done?
yeah, I'm trying. That's Ilex crenata. Crenata. Yes, the Japanese holly, Ilex crenata. There's also a inkberry, Ilex vomitoria. Terrible name. Tells you what the berries will do if you eat them. And that could work too. Ilex vomitoria or Ilex crenata.
She's also wondering about possibly a gold false cypress.
Oh, where I'm looking for something gold? Yeah, I
No, she for her boxwood that she could be replacing, I believe.
Yeah, you could. They're definitely not going to grow as fast as a boxwood, and they won't hold the shape quite as well. But there's so many varieties of false cypress that there might be one that would do pretty well there. Yeah.
There's also, she asked about Anna's magic ball thuya and tater tot. Thuyas can stay pretty tight, but the shade might be an issue in moisture too.
Well, the difference.
Deer like them.
Yeah, the difference between boxwood and thuya as cutting it and keeping it small as a hedge, if that's what you're going to do with it, is that the boxwood is forgiving. If you don't cut it for a year, you can cut it back hard and it comes back, whereas the arborvitae is not going to come back so you have to stay on top of it because the bare wood won't sprout again. I was telling Carol, who was on here first with us today, we just wove a new wattle fence at the Waterford Library 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago. And I got there to do my planning and whatever for the library group that worked there on Wednesday, and found that the end of the bed had been deconstructed in connection with some renovation going on at the library building. They'd taken apart the end of the bed and took out that wattle fence, set it to the side. It can't be put back in like it is, but I'm glad that Carol got to see how to do it. Oh, I'm at the end here, Steve. Oh, we got 10 minutes left.
Okay, we had a link for the Haas Halo hydrangeas. Could be. Carol said she's been looking for them and found out Steinkaufs can order them. They didn't have them in stock.
Oh, right. We talked about that before we started here. So if you're looking for Haas Halo, now why are we looking for Haas Halo hydrangea? It's because
it's the highest rated pollinator.
In at least one study, Mount Cuba Center did a study of the hydrangeas where they looked at which pollinators came, how many pollinators came, And Haas Halo, hands down, had more pollinators than any of the others. And we couldn't find it for a while, so it's nice to know that it's out there. It's a white, it's a native native snowball hydrangea. It does have big flowers on it, but not as big as maybe Incredible or Super Ball. Yeah, which is nice because it stands up nicer. So it's nice to know that there's a local grower here in the Detroit area that'll grow it. Last year, Chris found it for us at Wayside Gardens, I think is where Chris said that they had it. So it's out there here and there, worth grabbing. We have a garden by Janet and Steve coming up on Monday at 10 in the morning at the Southeast Oakland County Watershed Authority demonstration gardens in their native gardens. We're going to take a look at the native plants. They have a lot of native plants that are very well grown. So for design purposes, when people are talking about I want to grow natives, it helps to be able to see what they look like, what you can expect from them ahead of time. So if you're interested in coming to that, you need to let us know right away, because I make my list 2 days ahead, which is tomorrow, so that I can look properly at the weather and do any adjusting that we might need to do for weather. So if you want to come to Royal Oak to the Southeast Oakland County Watershed Authority's native plant garden with us, Monday's the day we'll do that.
Yeah. Barbara's ordinance officer informed her that pokeweed is on the list of state noxious weeds and should not be grown.
Isn't that something? How can they say that a native plant can't be grown? There are noxious plant lists in various communities. A lot of them, what we found when we were battling our own ordinance people and working with clients who wanted to do naturalized plantings, that most communities took the set of laws and ordinances that had already been established along, say, the East Coast. Now people are setting up a new community in Michigan or Ohio or wherever. They took the book from people, so the laws often said exactly the same thing. And many of them had the terminology that said, if it is poisonous, noxious, a threat to the safety or health of the community, or over blank inches tall, it is a weed, and we can tell you to cut it down. And what most of the things that we saw, their variation was only in the height. So in Whitmore Lake, in far west exurb of Detroit, it's 18 inches. In Troy, it's 6 inches. I think in Waterford it was 12 inches. So literally any of these plants that are out here could have been called a noxious weed, and you might have been asked to cut it down. But I don't think they can actually say that you can't grow poke because it belongs here. It's pretty something. I mean, rhubarb is worse than poke for making you sick if you don't harvest it at the right time. But rhubarb is a great leaf. We had rhubarb and horseradish, fennel, rhubarb. They made great plants in our gardens at the Detroit Zoo. They were ornamentally attractive, hardy, good tough plants to have around.
Therese has a hand up.
Okay, Therese?
Well, real quick, Janet, you just mentioned that rhubarb can make you sick or whatever if you don't harvest it at the right time. Please tell me what you mean.
You can harvest the stem, the stalks as they come up, which is what rhubarb used to be, a big forced plant industry. So people would grow rhubarb out in the garden, out in the rows, and then they would dig it up in the fall and put it in the root cellar. And as it sprouted in the spring, they would harvest just the stalks before the leaves opened up. And that's what we would eat. Once the leaf opens up, that whole stalk and leaf are toxic. They're going to make you mightily sick, cramps, throwing up, and it probably lasts for days. Rhubarb was used as a, what do they call it? Expectorant makes you spit. What makes you throw up? But it was used by doctors as something to make people vomit, and if they'd eaten something else toxic. So yeah, not probably going to kill you like poke, just going to make you pretty sick.
So I'm sorry, I'm just a little concerned because like I always like right about now or whatever, I will cut the stalks and I was always taught to cut an inch away from the leaves and then I could use that part of the stalk. Are you
Right,
saying,
as long as they're still red, still showing some red on it, right?
yeah, okay, I hadn't heard that, but good to know. But that's fine, right?
Yes,
Doing,
that's fine. That's fine.
okay, that's what I always do. So, okay, thank you.
You're making me hungry for strawberry rhubarb pie. My mom used to make
Yeah.
rhubarb pie and rhubarb crisp this time of year.
Michelle says, I thought you just don't eat the leaves of rhubarb.
Right.
Also, for rhubarb, it should always be pulled, the stalk, not cut.
Hmm. That one I don't know that I've.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I can't say
It's
one way or
yeah,
another.
because they certainly cut it from the forced roots. I mean, you would go into a root cellar back in the old days. People can still do it now, but when it was most done that way, you'd go into a root cellar and it's just stacks of crowns of rhubarb sprouting in the spring, and they just would go through and cut and take them in. So I don't think they pull them, but who knows? There's probably some damage that happens to the plant when it's grown in the ground, and you do it if you cut it rather than pull it. Who knows?
Yeah, Therese was curious why.
I'm putting that one on my list to check for next week.
All right.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna sign this off and tell people that they need to. Oh, can't seem to get going here. That's it.